Welcome to today's live session on how to scale up sustainable tourism sales. My name is Ayako Ozaki, and I'm facilitating this session today. This is our part 3 of our Wild Asia Responsible Tourism Leaders series, working in partnerships with Wild Asia Responsible Tourism Initiative as part of the celebration this year of the 10-year anniversary of Wild Asia Responsible Tourism Award. We're excited to welcome our partners for this session, the Travel Foundation and Leeds Beckett University, as well as our expert presenters, as you see on the screen, Amy from Wild Asia, and Peter, who is an expert in responsible tourism and community-based tourism, and has also been an active part of the Wild Asia Responsible Tourism Award family. And Christine, representing Exo Travel and the Foundation, who is also going to share some examples from her experience. And we'll get started right away with Amy's introduction on Wild Asia and the Responsible Tourism Award. So, Amy?
Thank you, Ayako. Yes, so welcome everybody. Thank you for joining this webinar series, which is part of the 10th birthday celebrations of the Wild Asia Responsible Tourism Awards. For those of you who are unfamiliar with the awards program, this is our 10th birthday, and as part of this anniversary we're consolidating the lessons learned and the inspirational stories of the past decade. It's an initiative across Asia, but mostly we have recognized inspirational businesses from South and Southeast Asia, ranging from luxury resorts to community-based homestays and various initiatives as well. And these have been projects that have met and exceeded global standards for sustainability, benchmarked against the global sustainable tourism criteria. And we have some of our speakers today who've been very important individuals as part of the Wild Asia Awards family. So we're excited to bring this celebration and webinar to you today. Over the last several years, we've been celebrating our awards every year at ITB Asia, Asia's biggest travel trade show, as well as last year we celebrated at the Pata Travel Mart. So here are some images from those ceremonies. And for those of you who are planning on joining ITB Asia this October in Singapore, we would love for you to come along to our Responsible Tourism Centre, which we hold every year in partnership with the event, running all sorts of responsible tourism workshops and discussions and informal conferences, as well as we'll be showcasing the 10 mini documentaries that we have made of some of the most inspirational stories over the last 10 years of the award recipients. So we're currently filming those, and we'd love for you to join us and see those. And after, they would also be available online. We're also consolidating lessons, and we'll be launching this at ITB this year. So, moving on, I am delighted to begin this session with my dear friend and colleague, Peter. He has been living in Thailand now for many, many years, but like me, is originally from the UK. He has been involved with the Wild Asia Awards for many years. He's been one of our most important judges on the program. His speciality is particularly in community-based tourism, and he's about to present to you a fantastic report that he has produced as part of his recent Masters in Responsible Tourism. So I will hand it over to Peter to kickstart today's session.
So first of all, I would like to say thank you very much to Amy and Ayako, Wild Asia and TrainingAid, and also to the Travel Foundation and to Leeds Beckett University for the chance to research and to share the recommendations which we will be sharing today on how to scale up the sales of sustainable tourism. Okay. So what I'm going to share today are lessons from Make It Count. It's a guide which was released last week, and as Amy mentioned, it's based on a year of graduate research and interviews with tour operators and with ground agents. And hopefully it will give you some ideas for practical and profitable actions that you can take within your business to scale up the sales of your sustainable tourism products, and also ways that you can work with your partners more effectively to identify and buy and sell more sustainable tourism for mutual benefit. So you may already be doing some of these things, but hopefully there will be some new ideas as well for you to try out. Okay. What makes Make It Count, hopefully, interesting is that these recommendations are all based on actions which tour operators are actually taking to buy and sell more sustainable tourism. So I would like to say a very warm thank you to the tour operators in the UK and around the world who contributed your experience, your absolutely invaluable experience to the project and to the guide. It includes some of the world's largest tour operators, established leaders in small group travel, and also smaller expert niche operators. So thank you very much. Why make it count? Tourism, which is enjoyable for visitors, profitable for businesses, kinder to the environment, and benefits local people in destinations, is no longer a niche. And this project started really as a labor of love, and it started with a question which was myself personally, and also looking at the work of other people. We've been developing responsible tourism, ecotourism, also on the larger scale, green hotels, for more than 20 years now. And there are really thousands of good excursions, hotels, restaurants, which can meet demand for better, greener, more inspiring holidays and experiences. But nevertheless, still featuring sustainable products, whether it's done explicitly or not, remains a token effort for many tour operators, and it's often based more on goodwill than on good business. It seems to be considered as an extension of CSR, and this is even the case sometimes where good, enjoyable, sustainable experiences get good feedback. So this led to a question, which was how can our industry move beyond tokenism and scale up the sales of sustainable products and experiences? And what are tour operators which have succeeded in selling more sustainable tourism doing? What are they doing well? And what are good and best practices which we can share? Also in the background was experience working on the supply side of tourism, which is that standards and checklists are one of the most common tools for raising sustainability performance, but they're also a burden, and require a lot of investment on the part of ground agents and suppliers. So I was looking to find ways that we could share the work to sell more sustainable tourism along the supply chain, to sell more products and make the extra effort which is going on the ground worth it for everybody. So the key messages, I guess the three things which came out strongly, the three core messages in the research are, first of all, that selling more sustainable tourism products really needs to begin with commitment and a systematic approach inside one's own business. So we have to begin with ourselves and our own business first of all. And it's impossible to scale up the sales of sustainable tourism. It's impossible to go beyond tokenism, I think, without this. The second set of actions which I noticed from the interviews with tour operators is to do with active collaboration between tour operators and ground agents to buy and sell more sustainable products. And finally, harnessing the experiential sustainable elements to build better products, and proposing and communicating these experiences more proactively and effectively. The good news as a result of the research, or the things which I found during the very interesting discussions I had with the operators, is that companies which are taking selling sustainable experiences seriously have benefited through increased sales and profit and customer satisfaction. So this is not a purely altruistic effort. For example, Thomas Cook's local label excursions grew by as much as 400%, and the Tui collection excursions have grown by as much as 250% between 2014 and 15. And also smaller specialists have gained brand recognition through feedback and awards by proactively buying and selling more credible sustainable products and experiences. So we have a carrot. So starting off inside tour operators and ground agent businesses, scaling up sustainable tourism sales requires a systematic approach which can only begin inside your own company. So first of all, you need to embed sustainability as far as possible into your company culture and your staff's daily work. For example, through the core values of your company, through your policies, but also simple actions such as discussing sustainable tourism with candidates during job interviews, and including sustainable tourism tasks, clear, concrete tasks in job descriptions across departments, and basically making sure that your staff appreciate that sustainable tourism is important to your company. Other actions which will increase the opportunity of scaling up the sales of sustainable tourism include motivating your staff with concrete goals. So this could be to increase the percent of certified green hotels for a product manager, or it could be to grow sales across a selection of preferred sustainable trips for a marketing or sales manager. Use sustainability criteria to identify better experiences, and we have a good example of this later in the presentation. Develop a staff engagement program with training, games and fun activities, and we're lucky today that Christine has joined us from Exo Travel, and she's actually the person that offered this case, so you'll be able to hear more about that from her. Encourage cooperation between departments and monitor and reward staff sustainability performance. It's interesting that staff are often rewarded for performance in other areas, but they are rarely rewarded for achievements promoting sustainable tourism. The implication is that being good is its own reward. However, everybody enjoys being recognized and appreciated for their achievements, and it shows that your company really does value sustainable tourism. So we'll look now at some specific cases. Using sustainability criteria to identify better experiences. There are now plenty of resources which are available to help identify more sustainable products. For example, Thomas Cook adapted the Travel Foundation's Greener Excursions criteria to assess their programs across 80 destinations worldwide. The most sustainable were selected through a rigorous process and promoted proactively as local label excursions. The suppliers really wanted this label. They wanted the extra promotion, and many of them, of course, were also motivated to benefit people and the environment in their homes, in the destinations. It was a very successful product and process. And it was also strict. As Joe said, out of 100 applications, only 60 got through. Here is an example of Izmir Craft Market in Turkey, which is one of Thomas Cook's successful local label excursions. Okay. Encouraging cooperation between departments is key to buying and selling more sustainable tourism. Through cooperation between staff in different departments, experiences can be fine-tuned to meet customers' needs, and marketers can access information and stories to add value to sustainable experiences. Rickshaw Travel established a team of meaningful travel warriors from across every department. They held interdepartmental trainings, for example, to explain how the sustainable products were sustainable, how they were fantastic experiences, what the strengths of the experiences were. They held meetings and fostered collaboration to increase the total percent of sustainable products in their offer. This earned them a Travel Life Better Places Award and certification. Developing a staff engagement program with training, games, and fun activities. So, as we know, policies and other documents can be very dry and uninspiring, and they are unlikely to motivate staff to really get behind choosing and actively pushing sustainable tourism in their day-to-day work. The Exo Travel Sustainability team motivated and challenged their staff through a full staff engagement program, including quizzes and missions. Each month they pick a theme and design missions to test understanding of sustainable tourism, certification, responsible tourism policy, etc., and offer rewards and prizes for achievement. Here's Han playing the Exo Travel Sustainability game. So, okay, so the first section focused on activities inside your company, and the following section will focus on cooperation, activities that you can take related to cooperation between tour operators and ground agents. And this is divided into tips for tour operators, we're meaning outbound tour operators here, and for ground agents and DMCs. Okay, so first of all, the first recommendation for tour operators is to make sure that sustainability is on the agenda with your ground agents. The second key recommendation is to request sustainable tourism proactively from ground agents. to help suppliers to understand and improve their health and safety performance, and this is a particular bottleneck in the UK, work as a team with ground agents to develop better experiences, and to be really proactive marketing and selling sustainable products. So, in terms of making sure that sustainability is on the agenda with ground agents, Exodus put sustainability on the agenda at trade fairs, meetings, during follow-up calls with their partners. They find that improving a portfolio across 90 countries is a challenge, so they prioritize improving the sustainability of top-selling trips. For example, in Sri Lanka, elephant riding was replaced with a responsible elephant safari, and extra meals with local families were included. So this is a picture from that program in Sri Lanka. A really excellent contribution by Kiri Travel encouraged outbound tour operators to request sustainable tourism more proactively from ground agents. As we know, it's a very, very competitive industry, and DMCs and ground agents work hard to respond as closely as possible to requests and to demand. And sales teams learn from experience that unsolicited proposals can backfire. There can be resistance to change due to the time and extra work which is created by new programs, by changing copy, by uploading lots of new photographs. So it would be very helpful if outbound tour operators could state explicitly that they would like to see sustainable alternatives proposed. To be successful and to maintain motivation along the supply chain, extra effort developing sustainable tourism must be matched by extra effort marketing sustainable tourism. And it is noticeable that outstanding products often receive little extra visibility in brochures and online. Thomas Cook local label excursions emphasize how special the experience is for customers. To push this new collection forward, they engaged overseas sales reps to experience the new products on fan trips, and actually asked the sales reps to write the marketing content for the resort guides. They created training packages, PowerPoint presentations, and supporting documentation for managers, agents, and reps. And the results were that existing excursions that gained a local label achieved an 18% increase in pre-tax profit compared to a 1.5% increase in pre-tax profit for non-labeled excursions. Okay, so top tips for ground agents. First of all, to support local communities and other suppliers to understand tourism and to develop new skills. To support local communities and suppliers specifically to offer more sustainable experiences. To help suppliers to meet specific UK tour operator criteria, or of course if it's the German market or the French market, it will depend on the specific needs of the market. To offer sustainable products more proactively to UK tour operators, and to understand the roles and priorities of the different staff who influence the decision to say yes or no to your proposal inside the outbound operators. The Blue Yonder is an example of a Indian local tour operator which really go the extra mile. They contributed 5,000 euros of Lifetime Achievement Awards to local artisans in Kerala in India in recognition of their contribution to maintaining local arts and culture. Blue Yonder takes guests to see arts and crafts being made, and the guests have opportunities to buy souvenirs. They gave scholarships to the local artisans to increase their production capacity. In 2015, over 1,000 of Blue Yonder's guests joined these workshops and experiences and bought an average of 80 to 100 US dollars of souvenirs per person. And the results for the Blue Yonder are that the artisans mention the Blue Yonder every single day when guests come in, earning referrals for the company. A similar story, but related to specific health and safety requirements of a massive tour operator, Tui UK. Aelos in Cyprus invested 5,000 euros to enable local community members in Tris Elise village to meet the criteria for TUI's sustainable excursions. This included coaching to obtain public liability insurance, conducting staff health checks, improving hygiene procedures, and requesting food safety checks from government standards organisations. With a quality experience and proactive marketing behind it, sales were up 250% between 2014 and 2015. Here we go, try as Elise, looks fantastic. The other side of ground agents' requests to ask for sustainable alternatives is Tribe Travel's emphasis that ground agents should also be more proactive, offering sustainable tourism and explaining why it is better. Price is key. Tour operators need ammunition to say why this is helping and why someone should care enough to book it. Information is essential to show why potentially more expensive experiences are better for customers, the destination, wildlife, etc. A final note on tour operator and ground agent collaboration is that it's useful for ground agents or DMCs to understand the specific roles and priorities of the different staff who influence the decision to say yes or no to your proposal, because the supply chain is also a supply web, and inside outbound tour operators there may actually be many staff with different roles who each have decision-making power to say yes or no to your proposal. And you need to know what each key decision maker expects for maximum market access for your products. So for example, when your proposal crosses the desk of product or contracting, they may prioritize a trustworthy partner, price, value-added experiences, or availability. But when the same proposal crosses the desk of health and safety, they're looking for insurance, health and safety auditing, emergency crisis procedures, or sales and marketing, prioritizing suitability for target markets, price, and margins. So the person that you're dealing with directly may not be the only person who you have to think about their needs and expectations for your proposal. Okay. There are 6 key recommendations to add value when marketing your products. First of all, it goes without saying to make sure that your sustainable products are right for your customers at the right price. Harness marketable, sustainable features to create much better experiences. Drive sales by creating products which offer sustainability for everyone or as wide an audience as possible. Use inspiring stories to excite your customers. Motivate your sales teams to drive sales of sustainable experiences. And look for a workable compromise when price is an obstacle. Searching hard for the sustainable elements which can create a better experience. For social tours in Nepal, choosing to partner with fair trade suppliers means a better experience which is more authentic, less commercial, and better quality. They developed the Throw Your Own Souvenir activity, pottery alongside a master of Timmy ceramics, and this was so successful it has expanded to a new Weave Your Own Souvenir product. The Beyond Tourism Company have increased sales by aiming to offer sustainability to everyone. They proactively suggest sustainable experiences which fit with customer requests and diverse types of tourists. For example, they offer an alternative route to Machu Picchu, staying with a local family, possible by cycling or hiking. STA's case illustrates the value of inspiring stories and information to excite your customers, and this was a very common success factor across the companies I talked to. So shark diving in Cape Town with Marine Dynamics alongside a marine biologist who provides gentle education which will totally transform the way you think about animals. Here we go, responsible shark watching. Okay, saving the perhaps most important recommendation finally is to motivate sales teams to drive sales of sustainable experiences. Tui's case shows it is essential to motivate sales teams to drive sales of sustainable experiences. George Orfano sends his reps on the excursion, and they must be able to answer clients' questions and present at least 5 or 6 highlights. He sets specific sales goals for the sustainable Tui collection, and backed up with good quality photographs and materials. And George is convinced that sustainable sells well. So, in conclusion, begin inside your company. Orientate your staff across departments towards sustainable tourism with clear goals, making sustainable tourism a part of their daily work, and reward them for success. Collaborate proactively with partners to identify, buy and sell enjoyable, sustainable experiences and make sure that benefits such as cost savings are shared along the chain between partners. Complement the extra effort made developing these products by marketing and selling with energy and effort. You can download the Make It Count guide to read the guide if you like, and also there are some other resources which I found very, very useful when thinking about product development and marketing for sustainable tourism, which are Keep It Real and Are You Ready for Business? And if you'd like to look at something more systematically, then there's the Travel Life for Tour Operators program and the Travel Foundation's Green Business Tools. So thank you very much for your time, and thank you again for the opportunity to share today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Peter. So while Ayako just uploads the next presentation and we get ready for Christine, our next speaker, just to introduce the link between EXO, Christine, and the Wild Asia Awards family. EXO Foundation has been recognized in our Responsible Tourism Awards before for their outstanding commitment to local communities and environmental initiatives. So EXO Travel is the company, and the EXO Foundation is the sister responsible tourism movement that's also responsible for implementing sustainability across all of their offices and operations. And Christine is the leader of all of this, so we're really excited that she could join us today and share some experiences.
Excellent. Thanks so much for the introduction, Amy. And Christine, if you can hear us? Yeah, great. So Christine, we get started right away with you. And Amy has already provided a little bit of a background information about EXO Travel and Foundation already. But tell us a little bit more about what you do as sustainability coordinator, as well as about the company and about the foundation.
Yeah, good morning everyone, or good afternoon according to your time frame. First, I would like to thank Amy and Peter for this invitation to share with you EXO approach of sustainability and how do we do to increase sustainable tourism within our company. So I apologize because I have a voice problem, so I will try my best, but maybe sometimes it's a bit difficult to understand me, but you will have access to the PowerPoint presentation. So EXO Travel started in 1993, opening the first foreign license agency in Vietnam, and then expanded progressively to operate in 10 countries, in Myanmar, Cambodia, Laos, Thailand, Indonesia, Japan, China, and the latest one is Malaysia. In 2015, we rebranded from Exotissimo to EXO Travel, and now EXO is servicing 4,000 agencies worldwide, catering for 100,000 travelers, with around 70% of FIT, around 22% of groups and series, and 8% of MICE groups. So the EXO Foundation, we're already on the slide. EXO has always contributed to local charities and projects and set up a few tourism projects with local communities, for example, in Laos. But after Nargis cyclone in 2008, EXO raised over $200,000, and it was then decided to create a proper foundation that handled the philanthropic activities of EXO. So when I was asked to join in 2012, I saw here a great opportunity to help mainstreaming sustainability. So I asked if they would agree, if they were interested to go on a responsible march and to become a leading responsible operator in Asia. So I shifted the role of the foundation from pure charity to sustainability. So as you can see, the two goals of the foundation are first to coach EXO Travel to become a leading responsible travel company in Asia, contributing to the sustainable development of the destinations, and to be discerning and generous, to advise travelers how to help efficiently, and to fund projects contributing to the sustainable development of peoples and places. I will focus here only on the first aspect of the foundation, the first mission, which is making destinations better places for people to live in and for travelers to visit through our operations. So this is a website of the foundation where you can find all information about the project we support and what we do in terms of charity. And you will have also all the activity reports, the sustainability report of the EXO travel, which are available in the About Us section, where you can have all the story of what we do and in detail the implementation. So my role as a SC is mainly to mainstream responsible tourism. It is to instill and embed sustainability principles within the company cultures and among all the staff. So it means elaborate and orchestrate the CSR roadmap to train, coach, and coordinate the implementation of this roadmap at all levels, within the offices first, then along our supply chain and tours, and among travelers. So also it is to run the charity activities, but I will not talk about that today. So it requires to change the mindset of the people. It requires to elaborate a long-term strategy, new policies, and lots of training. So the main point I wish to make here is that our goal is to mainstream responsible tourism. We are not focusing on specific responsible tours because I believe that to say this tour is responsible means that the others are not. And what we are looking at is to ensure that all our tours include responsible activities and contribute in a positive way to the destination. So we pay a lot of attention also at reducing the negative impacts. And actually it was our priority first, is to reduce all the negative impacts through operations, choice of suppliers, etc.
Great, thanks for the introduction, Christine. And as part of your contribution to the Make It Count guide, this was also mentioned earlier by Peter, but one of the things that we're really interested in hearing from you and more about is how do you make sustainability a key part of company culture at EXO Travel, and how do you engage staff members in what you do in the sustainability efforts?
Yeah, so this is really one of the most important points because at EXO, there is a very strong company culture. It is expressed in the 7 EXO core values that you can read here. And one of them, which was added when I joined, was we aim to be responsible. At first, they had written, we are responsible. But I told them, no, we cannot say we are responsible because we are not really yet, and it's a never-ending process. So we changed from we are responsible to we aim to be responsible. So the most important thing to me is really the 3 words that you are seeing here. It's empowerment, participation, and action. And the point is to organize this so that the staff gets really involved. It is a very lengthy process. It requires a continuous commitment, and it requires as well that you have a lot of ambition. My ambition is that EXO becomes a model, a leader of sustainable tourism in Asia. So we aim high, but we went progressively and step by step. So you can see the process. We started in 2012, really, with EXO Care booklet that you will see later. And then I drafted the EXO responsible travel policy. I started the Earth check assessment for 2 offices to see if the companies was ready to follow up complying to indicators and to get some discipline. And then in 2014, we committed to Travel Life. So I chose Travel Life because it's the most comprehensive certification for tour operator which is existing. It is GSTC certified, and it provides an external framework, because to many what I suggested was often considered impossible or too radical. So Travel Life actually provided me with some credibility about the agenda I had in mind. And also Travel Life was a great catalyst because it really allowed to move all the company, because at first I was alone. It's a big company, there are 800 staff in 9 different countries, so it's very difficult for a person alone to change all that. So it was accepted to hire sustainability coordinators locally in each country, and so that was a delicate process because we needed to find really the best people, and I'm very happy that I have a fantastic team of of a sustainability coordinator in each country where we ran for the Travel Life certification. And so I can say that Travel Life was a good framework and a catalyst. So I don't go over the awards. So as long as we got successful, we got certified for Vietnam and Cambodia in 2015, and then for Thailand early 2016, and now we are about to be certified for Laos and Myanmar. And we are by far the first tour operator of this size to be certified. So this gives another incentive, and now everybody's on the train with us, and everybody's supporting us, which was not always the case in the beginning. It's been really a long process to get the people committed. So the responsible travel policy is like our roadmap. It's asserting our 7 commitments and outlines our strategy supporting sustainability with what is very important, an inclusive and a collaborative approach. So you can see the 7 commitments. I won't read it for you because you can read very well. So this express, we aim to be responsible, and which is one of the core values of the group, and which is now the most important value actually for the staff. So in a few years, we brought this core value as a top value among staff. So the key aspect is to get staff committed, to create an internal dynamic, to trigger a snowball effect. Sustainability principles, they cannot be imposed. It has to be understood first, to then be applied on a voluntary basis. People need to be convinced. And the best way is to demonstrate how good it is, how well they can do. So my main angle was to tell them, this is not something you are doing for the business or for the company or the travel industry's future. You do it for you. You do it for your country, and you do it for your children. So it's very important. And people could hear that. So we built the S team. Each sustainability coordinator in each country built up their own S team on a voluntary basis. So we asked the people of the company who wanted to join, and we asked for 1 person from each department to be represented. And if there was no volunteer, we would nominate someone, but we would never force, of course. And then another point is to give a role to each department, because everyone has a role to play, and everyone needs to be responsible. So as Peter was mentioning it, we also included it now in our job description. And whenever a staff is hired, they receive a sustainability training. Some introduction to our policy, responsible travel policy, to our child safe policy, and to the ethical code of the company. And so we advanced progressively together with the S team, which was in charge of training, the rest of the staff, to introduce new concepts, because all this are really new concepts in Asia, and to make like a think tank group in each country so they can move forward then by themselves and initiate the project by themselves. So the first point for us, which was very important for me, was to clean in-house first. We had a lot of work to do inside the office first. So we simple daily life examples, we progressively integrated in all areas of the workflow the sustainability principle. So for example, we started with the paper printing, and we gave some tips. We changed the font to save on ink and on paper. And so far we have saved over 90 trees. So we are very proud of that. We can have a forest very soon. And then we built some policies. So we have the paper tip policy, we have the switch off policy for energy, we have a purchasing policy, which is very important. As now we try to have all our purchasing, whether it's equipment or gift for the guest or tea or coffee for the staff, purchased from sustainable companies themselves, from responsible companies, from organic trade, from fair trade. So we really try to be sustainable in all areas at all levels, not only through our tours. And I think this is a very important point. So we developed all these policies for internal management, but as well we built up an ethical code. We also wrote guidelines for wildlife, viewing and protection. We developed a child safe policy, which is the first child safe policy ever drafted by a tour operator in Asia. and we did tips for responsible travel. So this involved a lot of sensitization and training. So once your staff has understood the basic principles through daily examples and applications, when they are convinced it is the right way forward, they do it almost naturally in the long run. Because again, everybody wants to do well. So, and then they are proud. And so they spread it out to friends, to relatives. And thus we can start the snowball effect. So we put a lot of effort into that, and it was quite successful. So I will not go back on the game because Peter already described it, but that was a really fun way to get the staff to understand the concept and to read the document, the policies, because these are long documents, the staff has no time, people are not willing to read anymore. So I have to find a fun way so that people get involved, get committed, and try to start to understand what we are talking about. And that was very successful. And now we can say that we really, thanks to the sustainability coordinator, the S team, we really reveal people as actors of change. And now if only 20% of our staff is truly committed, this is already a great achievement because we can make a real difference.
Yeah, great. Thanks. I just wanted to mention that I thought it was really excellent that you not only engage your staff members in terms of sustainability practices, but empower them with the knowledge that this is good for them, for the future of their country, and empower them to be part of the sustainability effort and to be leaders. So I think that's an excellent point. And our next question for you, and the topic that we wanted to cover, that's also related to the guide, is how do you demonstrate the value of sustainable tourism products when you are working with international tour operators?
So how do we demonstrate the value? So I think that per se, traveling to the other side of the world is about experiencing. It's about discovering new cultures. So our job as a tour operator is to provide experiential travel that will become lifetime memories. We are here to make dreams come true. So whereas the overall strategy and actions are quite technical, this is not what the clients wish to hear. They do not care so much of what we do backstage, whatever effort we do to be truly sustainable. They want to start dreaming and traveling already when they read the tour program. A new dimension of travel is now serving our sustainable agenda because travelers are increasingly looking for more experiential holidays. And luckily, this has been the positioning of EXO for a long time, so we are good at that already. Now, people are looking for what I call the feel-good factor. So people are willing to spend meaningful holidays. They want their money to accrue to the right people, to the right project. They want holidays that contribute to the people and the environment. So the feel-good factor has become part of the experience to me. And because again, who doesn't want to do good, So we have to include this feel-good factor in our description, in our tour description. Nobody wants their holidays to create negative impact. So aside describing an experience which is unique, we need to explain how their holiday will benefit the country. This makes them feel good. They enjoy unique experiences, and at the same time, they can make a difference in the livelihood of the host. So this is beautiful. And people, they want that, I want to add that sustainable tourism is not more expensive. And actually, even sometimes it's cheaper than regular holidays. Taking a bike is much cheaper than flying a jet, right? So there are many experiences that people can do which will not be more expensive. And actually, sustainable tourism, we don't need to demonstrate its value. Because these are inspiring experiences. And the way we describe them just highlight the value for the people, for their experience, but also for the locals. So I will take an example of elephant riding. So elephant riding, everybody's been speaking about elephant riding. There has been a lot of campaigns to stop elephant ridings because a lot of mistreatment of elephants are behind elephant ridings, but not always. And we at EXO, we prefer to have a more sensible and progressive approach. Because how can we, as a tour operator, from day 1 to day 2, ask camps to stop the rides when we are at the origin, we have created the demand, and we are somehow responsible for the unsustainable development of elephant rides at the cheapest price. When we pay a very cheap price, it involves de facto the poor treatment of elephants, but also of mammals. So the focus from companies most of the time is exclusively on elephants, but we are also concerned with human welfare. And it's also a big issue in many elephant camps. So our position was not to ban rides suddenly. This would put at threat the livelihoods of many mammut families, but to phase out progressively, to give time to the good camps to readjust their activities to ensure that elephant and mammoths' welfare are well respected. So we assessed elephant camps through questionnaire inspections, establishing a rating scheme to select only camps treating elephants and staff properly, whether they do rides or not. So when a tour operator asks us for a ride in a camp, we evaluated as not respecting these basic principles, basic welfare of mammoth and elephants. We explain them why we cannot work with this camp, and we offer alternative camps, alternative activities, preferably without rides. But if they insist to do a ride, we have selected camps which are treating elephants very well, where the rides are not at the price of the suffering of elephants. So we have developed for our staff template emails explaining the main points and a document called EXO and the Elephant, which is somehow of an extract of our wildlife guidelines. And we share this with our clients asking for rides. And this has been proven to be true, is that when we properly explain a client what are the issues at stake, we are the advisors of Asia, so usually they follow us and they respect our advice and they understand the situation.
Great, thank you for sharing the detailed example, and that's a really great point that you've made about elephant tours that are an important topic in responsible tourism for many companies. Yes. And you mentioned a little bit of your experience with Travel Life already, but one of the questions that we also wanted to ask you was, how do you ensure that the experiences you create meet the standards and expectations of international tour operators?
Yeah, so that's a long question again, of a long answer. I know I am out of time, but so I have 4 points here. So the first point is excellency and professionalism are the basic standards of EXO. So that's what makes it a leading destination management company in Asia, because it has always put forward excellency and desire to go beyond expectation, to provide faultless tours, and this was a formula of the success of EXO. The Travel Life certification for tour operators is really the guarantee that we are at the best, at the top of the sustainability standards worldwide. So this is an excellent guarantee for our clients, and a guarantee that we are walking the talk and are up to the best existing standard. EXO was the first and only DMC Travel Life certified in Cambodia, in Laos, and so the first big company to be certified in Vietnam, in Thailand, and soon in Myanmar. So we are ahead of the competition on most indicators, and even sometimes beyond Travel Life indicators on some points. So our client, they know our excellency. Another point I want to make about this excellency and standards also involve the staff. The staff is the main asset of the company, right? And EXO is an excellent company towards its own staff, with regular internal promotion, in-house academy with annual trainings and personal development sessions for staff. So our staff is our main pride, and it's very important for us, if we want to reach good standards and excellency, that our staff is the most happy staff. Another point is about safety. So safety is a very important criteria of a travel. And so we wanted to make sure, like, for example, our adventure guides have received a professional first aid training, And now we launched also a first aid training for all our other guides. The second point I want to make on that is that we work, actually EXO tends to develop its own tours instead of subcontracting local tours. So we do sometimes, like with Soxa Bike in Baton because they provide a unique experience, but most tours are developed by EXO themselves. We are also adding value to this tour by hiring experts in one field to make it even more interesting and inspiring. So we hire architects, agronomes, historians, journalists, anthropologists, artists who can be like speakers during thematic tours about tea making or an orchid tour or whatever. So this provides an excellent type of experience with the highest standards, again, because we hire the best experts in each country to talk to the travelers. When we talk about homestay, for example, travelers are made aware that the level of comfort will be different, of course. But this is part of the experience. So it is not only about standards, but it is always about experience. And here it is about understanding the local context. So travelers come here to know more about a country, and this is one of the best ways. A very important aspect to ensure the standards is to work closely with our suppliers. So we have done a phenomenal backstage work, which is still in process, to assess all our suppliers, to identify those which are committed and are the most responsible, so we can highlight them as responsible suppliers. You can see the icons now on the right-hand side. So these icons will be attributed to the best responsible suppliers we have. We have a social responsibility icon and an environmental responsible icon, because we wanted to separate both, because some people are doing well in social, some people are doing well in environmental, some people are doing well in both. So we wanted to be able to highlight whatever good, however good the people are when they are really committed to some aspects. So it required a huge amount of work to identify supplier, but this is a very important work to really be able to demonstrate that our suppliers and our standards are up to the sustainability standards of a UK operator, for example. So we evaluated the suppliers, and also we work with them to improve their sustainable performance. So the people who are committed, who are willing to be committed but haven't started yet, we ask them, and if they want, we share with them best practice, provide advice. So we also work on our supply chain to make them more responsible if they want to receive our advice, of course. So what we do now with the sustainability coordinators in each destination, they are now establishing a network of committed actors, and this is creating a real momentum. And luckily, this will help us to improve the overall sustainability of a destination, because we are aiming high, as I was saying, and we really want not only EXO to be responsible, but the whole destination to become more sustainable. The last point on this question is to work closely with the communities, empowering them, but also there is a lot of work to do to sensitize tourists. So I will take an example of Laos. For example, in Laos, they set up a Camu Lodge, which is an eco lodge, which is among a Camu community. So this was done together with the local communities, and it was a long process, because it's difficult for villagers who have never been tourists or never traveled to know how to welcome tourists. So there is a lot of work to do with them. So this is a unique experience among this community, but it's not compromising the comfort, because it's not, or intruding into the villagers' life, because people don't stay in the villagers' house, but in an eco lodge. But the villagers benefit in different ways, with all employees coming from the village. The community fund collects $1 per tourist, and EXO funded a school, a cleaning, and livelihood activities such as pig raising or basket weaving. So it's a lengthy process, but some of the problem actually come more from some tourists who have irresponsible behavior, willing to do well, of course, but actually doing wrong. So, for example, we strive to discourage tourists to give anything directly to children, as progressively it makes them habituated to this and end up with children coming to tourists to beg. And this is not a good education for a child, and it's not a way forward in life. So we sensitize tourists, guides, and locals to avoid this. For us, travelers definitely have a role to play, and so part of our work is as well to engage the clients, and not only to cater for those already requesting sustainability options, but to convince all our travelers to become sustainable travelers, responsible travelers, I mean.
So this was our last question. I think you covered
Yes.
some of it already, but how do you communicate about sustainable tourism product in a way that's attractive to travelers? And yeah.
So yeah, here I will make 2 points. So for us, the priority is to stop irresponsible tourism and to reduce the negative impact, and then to promote responsible tourism and positive impacts. So sustainable products are actually products which are usually more fun, more interactive, and more creative. They are meant to provide an in-depth knowledge of the destination, of its people, culture, and biodiversity. So it is attractive per se. We don't have to make much effort. We just need to develop fact sheets for our staff and sales rep overseas so they can better sell these experiences and describe them. So, for example, many people, when we talk about responsible tourism, are thinking again of community-based tourism or ecotourism, but these to us are only one way. So for us, CBT, the demand, unfortunately, is quite low. We cater for rather upmarket people, and they are looking for good levels of accommodation, or are not so interested to sleep in a family's house with people they cannot really communicate with. It can be an embarrassing experience, actually, for some people. And most of homestay we are using are during adventure tours, cycling, trekking. So it is a great way to discover a country, but not everybody wants to go sleep in a homestay, right? So actually what we do is we push more specifically for interaction through common activities and learning experiences. We really believe that the best way to discover a country is to share an experience and to learn from the locals. So, for example, this is very famous and very successful. It's a cooking class. So this cooking class is an excellent way to discover a destination and to interact with the local people in a meaningful way and a genuine way, right? It's not made up. It's really a natural interaction. Or we visit a private house of the musician or special skilled people. We visit crafters. We do workshops to make soaps or to learn weaving, or the art of mandalas, or become a farmer for a day, or do Thai boxing. These are much better options for many clients. Also, I believe that this interaction is then more genuine. The revenues are higher for the communities, and they don't have to get people inside their house, which can be also sometimes maybe a problem. And the experience is unique for the traveler. So for me, to push for interaction through common activities and learning experiences is really a win-win-win situation. So the most difficult part actually is to discourage tourists to do activities they think are good, when actually they are not always good. So for example, we are a pioneer in that too, is that we stopped school visits and orphanage visits since 2013 because these are detrimental to the sound emotional and educational development of children. And on top of it, there are much more meaningful activities that we can develop to help these kids by helping their families, by supporting NGOs like vocational training restaurants, social enterprises, etc. So for example, instead of school visit, when somebody asks for a school visit, we try to offer an alternative which is going to be more meaningful. So for example, for a group, we develop some artistic performance within a village. So this brings happiness instead of voyeurism and makes the client very happy because they share a moment of true happiness through a show, or it can be a clown or a performance or whatever. It supports local association and cultural heritage preservation at the same time, and it provides a disadvantaged villager with some fun and culture instead of inciting them to play the victims and, thanking the, bending down to thank the clients. So what we do is we explain the pros and cons of the different choices and of the alternative that we are offering. And again, everyone wants to do well. So for us to communicate about sustainable tourism product is not only to say, oh, how beautiful is that, but it's also to raise the awareness on the negative impact of some kind of activities that the client would ask, because we have to convince them to do in a different way if we want to stick to our own standards. So we are developing with Travel Life and other tour operators like Kiri Travel or Buffalo Tour a list of no-go excursions. So the last but not least I will present is a booklet that has been distributed for a few years now, before even we run for Travel Life certification. It's a tips for responsible travel that we distribute to almost, not yet, but to most of our travelers. And so we ask our clients for their authorization to distribute it. And so far we have distributed 40,000 copies. So this booklet has been also considered as a kind of a good example of the information we need to convey to tourists to provide cultural tips and advice on behavior, on etiquette, on local custom, to make sure that the guests, the client, the travelers have the best interaction possible, and they understand the cultural code, the local codes, to avoid doing something wrong. Then there is a section on the environmental best practices to minimize carbon footprint and contribute to biodiversity conservation. Then there are guidelines to explain how to benefit the local communities and contribute to poverty alleviation for those who are willing to do so. And we provide a list of responsible shops, social enterprises, NGOs, where the people can make some purchase, buy souvenirs, and contribute to the sustainable development of the destination. Yeah, that's it.
Thanks so much, Christine, for your presentation and for sharing a lot of tips and examples that I'm sure are really useful for many of the participants today. We are, as we noticed, we are a little bit out of time, but at this point, I think maybe we can cover just a couple of questions that I wanted to start with. The first one that I saw much earlier in the segment. This was a question. So question for you, Christine and Peter, and feel free to answer if you would like. But this question, I think, was specifically for Peter. Do you think that regulation is the only solution for sustainable tourism, implementing sustainable tourism, or common sense, best practices, or perhaps all of the above? Would you like to answer that, Christine, or?
I can answer, yeah. I think, yeah, it's a combination of all that.
Okay.
Yeah.
From your experience.
Yeah, you need to play on any front, you know. You need to trigger whatever you can. So all these different things are
right. Yeah, as we saw in what you do within your company as well. Peter, do you have any comments on this as well?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hello. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think as Christine said, you know, there's lots of different tools at our disposal, and so we need to use all of the tools. But I think that Christine's presentation, you know, really, I mean, it really confirmed what we were talking about, you know, if we want to scale up the sales of more sustainable products, then we have to orientate our company towards sustainable tourism. And Christine's example in her sustainability teams is excellent about how it was done in a very positive way. She talked about inclusive and collaborative the snowball effect. People need to be convinced, you know. So, I mean, there's never going to be laws, I don't think, at the level of lots of these day-to-day decisions which the different staff in the tour operators have to make. And really, we need people to be on our side, you know. So I think we need to be looking at how do we motivate people? How do we get people on side? What kinds of simple, concrete actions which people take during their day-to-day working lives can lead to identifying, valuing, prioritizing, preferring more sustainable experiences, you know, and it doesn't only need to be classic sustainable experiences such as community-based tourism and ecotourism. I really appreciated the icons which Christine showed on her slide, and you know that kind of icon makes it easier immediately for operations staff or for sales staff or for reservation staff to suggest more sustainable alternatives, and you know that can be 4- or 5-star hotels. It doesn't necessarily need to be CBT.
Great, thanks, Peter. And this next question from Mihi, I'm going to summarize it in 2 parts, and this is for you, Christine, specifically about travel life certification. 1, what has been the most difficult part for receiving the certification? And 2, after having received the certification, have you seen concrete benefits in terms of sales and attracting more travelers?
The most difficult part of travel life is first to digest the 245 indicators and to get that through inside the company, because it's very thorough. And it seems, it seems very impossible to many people. So the point is really to always be positive and to find a way to get all these indicators implemented inside the company. So yeah, I would think the first thing is really to convince the staff again and to convince the management. So me, I was lucky that the top management has been supporting me all the time. But for some other management, sometimes it was difficult to convince we should do that way because it involved a lot of changes. It was a kind of revolution inside the company, I must say. So a soft revolution, which I conducted softly, progressively, but there has been huge changes inside the company. And this was not always foreseen as a benefit for the managers. And this leads to the next question. That in fact, it's difficult to measure whether it improved our sales, but it definitely improved the image of EXO. And in terms of branding, it's been, I think it's just adding up to the excellent reputation of EXO. And so now we also got some awards like the PATA Gold Award for the best CSR program in Asia Pacific, which is enormous to us, and so we receive a series of other awards like that. So for sure, the travel life certification, I think, will boost the sale in the long run. Even if it was not the point, it was really not the goal and the reason why EXO started that. But it definitely provides confidence to our clients because it's a B2B agency, EXO. So our clients are travel agencies, and so we are up to the best standards. And so even if the price makes often the difference, it does not always. Quality does, and now sustainability is a big criteria. So I think we definitely won some markets thanks to that.
Great, thanks, Christine, for sharing your experience. And this is going to be our last question, unfortunately. And for you both, I think Christine and Peter, or any one of you that would like to answer, what is the role of tourism boards? Are they actively involved in the tour operators and destination management companies' efforts? Do you have some good examples? Would either of you like to take this question, or maybe even Amy?
Peter or Amy, can you answer? I don't know.
I would just like to link this to EXO's achievement of receiving the Travel Life Award and how tourism boards have been involved with that, or probably not, in fact. And at this point, because Wild Asia for several years were actually Travel Life's strategic partner for Southeast Asia, and we were working to try and implement the certification scheme at a government level, so encouraging tourist boards to start encouraging tourism operators to go down this path, because like Christine mentioned, the value of Travel Life maybe in this part of the world, the benefits in terms of receiving more guests at the moment might be slow, but it's certainly coming, because Travel Life historically is a very European standard, and companies based in that part of the world like Thomas Cook have got some really ambitious targets for their supply chain. So they will only start to work with companies that have, for example, a Travel Life certification. So for companies like EXO, who've been a real pioneer of getting the certification in Southeast Asia, they've really taken it into their own hands. And from my experience, tourism boards should be more involved with encouraging operators within their own country to go down this path. But so far, I've seen little engagement in this. Yeah, so I think there's lots of work still to be done, but tourist boards definitely have a power to encourage operators to follow the best practices of people like EXO within their own countries and regions.
Great, thanks, Amy. And Peter, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, okay, I'd say, for example, it's possible for tourism boards to promote all, lots of different kinds of experiences. Obviously, they have opportunities to promote quite creative or interesting or innovative styles and kinds of tourism. I mean, if you look at in Thailand, the Tourism Authority of Thailand, I think they do quite a good job creating, really interesting videos and media and social media campaigns for food tourism, for homestay, for cultural experiences, this kind of thing. So I think that they do a good job in, sending out an interesting message and interesting images. What I do think is that when you're talking about business to business, there are so many different scales of tour operators, both outbound and DMCs and ground agents. And it's really important if we want to link good sustainable products all the way through the supply chain from product right through to market, we need to see all of these different, larger companies, smaller companies, specialist mainstreams, and it requires more case-by-case support and coaching to link businesses together and seed and facilitate partnerships. I think that CBI in the Netherlands, their coaching program is an amazing example, in the world of how tourism experts can work with small SME tour operators who have a commitment to sustainable tourism, and also bigger companies, help them to identify specific appropriate partners in Europe which are appropriate for their products and for the target markets they want to focus on, and then build the specific skills which they need to work with those operators. It's case by case, it's seeing the detail rather than being just one huge marketing and promotion program. So yeah.
Great, thanks. That's a very good example and practical information for all of us. And with that, thank you so much again, everyone, for joining our session today. And of course, thank you, Amy, Christine, and Peter for the excellent presentation and a lot of really interesting and practical tips that are useful for all of us working in responsible tourism. I'll just mention, as you see the links to our websites for Wild Asia and TrainingAid, we'll be sharing the follow-up information in the coming days. So please look out for our updates, and of course everyone will receive the recording of this session as well as the presentation slides, and you will find a link as well to download the Make It Count guide, which I really recommend everyone to go out and do. And excellent point is that this is also free. So and with that, thank you again, everyone, for joining. And I hope many of you can join us in the future as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you very much. Thanks. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.